Nick Sirianni Live, presented by Premier Orthopedic.
Yeah. And I'll say the same thing.
I'm going to say that to you every time.
Good incentive to come.
Nick, what can you share about your messaging to the team this week?
We just really talked about the process. Sometimes I'll share the message, sometimes I won't, but we just talked about the process, and the process is what produces results, and just being completely locked into the process where when I kind of correlate it to somebody shooting a free throw, right? When you get taught to, actually, I haven't done real well with my correlations with things, so maybe I don't want to get into this. But when you're shooting a free throw, we're taught, have a process in that, right? However many dribbles that you have, and then shoot. Why do you do that, right? You do that because when the gravity of the moment seems high, or the crowd's yelling and screaming, trying to get you to miss the free throw, or anything like that, you focus on the process so you can, with your dribbles, so you can shoot and give yourself the best chance to shoot. So that's my analogy. I'll hold my analogies from here on out.
What was your free throw routine?
One dribble. It was interesting because I asked a couple of the guys what their, I didn't want to think about it too much, so boom, right? And I asked some of these guys what theirs were, and it was interesting to see some of their routines. Zach Bonds was funny. He said he wasn't a great free throw shooter, so he changed it a bunch. So he had a couple different ones. I shared a story that I was like 6 of 14 from the line one game. I didn't change it, but went back and really worked on it. And the next game, I was like 14 to 15 from the line. But I wanted them to know from that I did a good job getting to the hoop. So there was part of that reason why I told that too. And I just wasn't a shooter because they just see me shooting here. So I just wanted to give that little bit of insight.
Jacoby,
went on social media this morning, said he wasn't getting activated. How's that process going with him?
Yeah, I think he had a good week of practice, and we'll see. There's still time. We don't have to make that decision until tomorrow. And but I thought he had a good week of practice. It was awesome to get him back out there. He's a great leader, great teammate. Looking forward to when we can get him back.
Has the success on field goals this year changed your game strategy?
Your game strategy is always based off your line. So I guess the best way to answer that, Zach, without giving up too much, is that, when there's a game with the weather where your line changes, or there's a game in a dome where there is no weather situations, that always switches up your strategy of what you do, when you do it, all those different things. So, if the line moves back because, we're making more or whatever, or all those things that go into account. So I guess the short answer is yes.
At the end of the half 2 weeks ago, you sat on the ball, and it's a situation now where one completion puts you in a long.
What was the time on that?
I think there was 12 seconds, and you had a timeout.
Yeah. There's times where, that's obviously something that I've always studied. I have actually looked at every end of half under a certain time, right? Because there are moments where you sit on it. There's moments that you don't. In those moments, throughout those studies, right, there's negative things that can happen in those moments as well. But you always take everything. You take the clock into account. You take your amount of timeouts into account. Like, we have a formula for when we do, when we don't. You take I said the clock, the timeouts, and you take the where you are on the yard line into account. At that particular point, that was the Rams game. We weren't having a lot of success quite there, and that was part. And you take the game flow into account. So that is definitely a good observation by you. That's always something, like, you're always in these modes of 2 minute. What mode? 2 minute is a situation, but there are situations within the situation. What mode of 2 minute are you in? And those things usually are dictated by score, half, clock, all those things I talked about.
When you get a chance to see Jalen and AJ interact in a way we don't, what do you notice from them, whether it's on the practice field and the facility, about their relationship?
Yeah, just, always trying to get on the same page, always trying to do what they need to do to, to go out there and perform, whether that's in the meeting room, talking through things in the meeting room, whether that's, out on the practice field, getting, the looks of practice, but then also the extra reps on the side. So, I just see two guys that are great pros that, care deeply about winning, and they know that, they're, the way they perform, it dictates winning and losing. And, they work hard. They work very hard at that together, to put the best product out on the field that we can.
Nick, to follow up on that, how do you as a coach handle maybe generally the way players use or don't use social media? Jalen, when he talks to us, is very, controlled in what he says. And then, of course, AJ will put things out there, and that's a normal thing nowadays for people of his generation.
Mm-hmm.
Not to sound too old to do.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah. It's just a different form of communication, right? So it's no different than what you talk about when you talk to the media or talk to, whatever. It's the same thing. It's just a different form of communication that, and maybe I don't have social media. I don't get to post anything, or is it a get to? Yeah, I don't get to do that. But it's still communication, right? And it's still, just like talking, your words, whatever you put out there is going to get out there, just like you would with your words in this setting. So, we treat it as that.
It's going to be busy at the sports complex over the next 3 days, including you guys. When you have rare free time before and after your game, how much are you paying attention to what's happening across the street, and how does it feel to be a part of this pretty exciting time?
Yeah. Really good. Obviously we're so busy at this time of year with the job that we have, but you're really I know that, with the Phillies, I always see them supporting us. And, you know, we do the same thing we want to do the same thing and reciprocate that for them. You know, it's an exciting time. We know that the Phillies energy will transpire into, you know, to our games and vice versa. So, you know, wish them the best of luck. Appreciate you asking me that. I wouldn't have brought it up on my own, but wish them the best of luck. And it'll be exciting to watch them play. You know, I'm not going to say what team I grew up a baseball fan of, but it's nice to be in a city where baseball is an exciting sport, where means so much, and the team's doing a really good job, and being able to follow that with my boys, because my boys are Phillies fans, and so I've transitioned into a Phillies fan as well. So that'll be exciting. You know, Saturday night will be We'll be in here though. We'll be in here getting ready for the game. You know, we'll be in meetings at that particular time. And, you know, I know that one thing that has been cool in the past, where if they played on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday or whatever, and we're in meetings as coaches, when the players have left, you hear the roar of the stadium and the lights flickering on and off, and that's pretty cool. I know that Vic sometimes, you know, weather permitting, keeps that door open on the defensive staff room, so he can hear that, because you know he's a big time Phillies fan. So it's cool. It's cool to be a part of this. What a great sports town, and you know, and it's an exciting time.
Vic said earlier this week, the big test for Keely Ringo will be to see how he improves from his week 1 start, you know, his first start. What have you noticed from him maybe during practice this week? Any uptick maybe in confidence or the way he's handling himself?
Yeah, I think he's had a good week. Excited for all our guys, you know, going into this week. It's been a good week of preparation and focusing on our process. And Keely's, you know, been doing a really good job with that to get himself ready to play. In any mode. That's why I always admire about Keely is, like, okay, last week it was a different mode that he was preparing for, and, you know, before that it was for some things on special teams and to be the backup. So Keely's just a really good pro that you know, puts himself in position by the way he works all week to be ready for whatever role that he's called upon in the game. And so it's been fun watching that. He played a good game, did some really good things in that Bucks game, you know, big 4th down pass breakup that, you know, gave us the ball back. So, and did some really nice things in coverage. So, you know, looking forward to seeing him play on Sunday.
Do a couple more. How impressed are you with Bo Nix?
Yeah, he's a good football player. Obviously, Sean Payton, outstanding coach, great offensive mind. Has done that for a long time. Had a lot of good success with the quarterback, and I just think, you know, you're seeing that with Bo too. You know, really athletic guy. You know, decisive with the football. I got a lot of respect for his game, and it's obviously early in his career. So, yeah, a lot of respect for this offense and this team, and particularly Coach Payton and Bo Nix.
Nick, what have you seen from Adoree Jackson as kind of the veteran in that pretty young DB room? What kind of impact has he had sort of behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think he's a guy that comes to work, you know, every day. Another great pro. Just, you know, trying to get better, and you know, he's seen. Anytime you get a guy that's seen a lot of football, you know, that helps the young guys, because he can, you know, he's seen so many different situations, different routes, different types of receivers, and so, you know, that expertise is so valued. You know, think about that back with Cam and Jason Kelsey, and you think about that back with, you know, Jordan and Jalen Carter with, you know, with Fletcher Cox. You know, then you get an opportunity to have a guy in here that's seen a lot of football, and that's good. And we talked about that also with Marcus Epps helping Reed early in Reed's career. So that's always valuable.
All right. Thanks, folks.